大家早安。不好意思，小小公告一下，又到了我们应该要写个问卷，让那个 AIT 知道一下我们新生的时候哈。那今天下课的时候，或者是等一下有空，那麻烦大家可以刷一下这个 QR code， 然后写一下大家对那个 Douglas 讲这个课的一些意见这样子。然后那地点如果第一次写的话，就是地点记得写台中美国资料中心，好，然后就是语言学习的课程，好，这样那。这个 AIT 那边看就知道说他是写今天的那个 News Reading 这个课程。好，那今天一样填写的话，我们会再感谢一下大家会自赠一个就是实用的小笔记本。好，那就是欢迎大家踊跃的协助我们写下问卷。好，谢谢。
How's everybody today? Good? Good. Feels like every time I see you, it feels like it's been such a long time. So, too long. So anyhow, I'm happy I'm here because I got back from美国yesterday about last night. So if I fall asleep in the middle of the class, you'll understand why. You said it. People always ask me when I travel if I have a problem with jet lag. Okay. Does everybody know what jet lag is? Okay. Oh, you call it 时差. Okay. Yeah. Oh, 时 is like 时间, like time, and 差 is okay. So jet lag is the name that we usually use for this. And it's funny, whenever I meet people who travel, they always compare their jet lag experience with other people. And some people say, oh, do you get jet lag very badly, or do you have jet lag very bad or seriously? And the one thing I had this discussion several times. I went to America for about 3 weeks. So from mid-July until yesterday, I was in the U.S. Visiting family, mostly family. And so comparing with other people, I think we seem to agree that when you fly from here to the U.S., jet lag seems to be worse than when you fly from the U.S. back to Taiwan. And nobody knows why. I'm not sure why either. It could be just the timing, time of the day, with a flight. Both flights leave early in the morning. So when I leave Taiwan, it's early in the morning. When I leave America, it's early in the morning. But I don't know. It's just different. I feel like in the U.S., I suffer from jet lag for at least 3 or 4 days. But when I come back to Taiwan, it seems okay. So anyhow, why don't we say it together? Jet lag. Jet lag. It's a funny name because it's jet. Of course, means jet, like 喷射机, right? Like an airplane. And lag. What does lag mean? Right. To basically to I guess if you say someone is lagging behind, it means that they are behind on something. For example, if you say my schedule is lagging, or he is lagging in his schedule, or something is lagging, it means it's late. It's going slower than it should be. So someone says, "Oh, I'm lagging." It means I'm falling behind. I'm falling on my schedules. I'm not following the schedule. So I don't know how long this name has been used, but obviously since jets, probably with jets because jets go faster. Probably when they invented jet airliners, people started traveling further and faster, and so this became a real problem. So anyhow, I was in the U.S. and I spent all my time in 2 states. I visited Ohio, which is where my sister lives, and I visited, of course, Pennsylvania. Okay, so Ohio, this is where my father's home area is. My mom is still living there. And so then, of course, when you fly back, you have to, or both directions. Actually, no. Coming back, my plane stopped in Chicago, and then San Francisco, and then back to Taiwan. So on my way to class today, I was just thinking about these names because when I was in Ohio, I was staying in the capital city. Does anyone know the capital of Ohio? Not Dayton. No, not Cincinnati. Columbus. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So Columbus is the capital. And, in America, there are many cities named after Columbus, Christopher Columbus, right? He was the first European, although people discuss this. Some people think there were some Europeans that made it to America before Christopher Columbus. But anyhow, he's probably the most famous European to people say discover. Of course, he didn't really discover it, but he discovered it for the Europeans. So Columbus, Ohio is a city I visited. But I was thinking about this name here. Many American states have Native American names, right? Or we say, many people still say American Indian, Native American. And Ohio, I didn't know this, is named, it's named Great River or Good River. Okay, so either Great River or Good River, that's the name Ohio, and it comes from the Seneca. This is the name of a Native American tribe. In Taiwan I heard the government just announced there's now Shiqi. They just added one, 17 different Zhu, right? So there's a Zhu called Seneca Indians, and their name for Ohio was Great River. Now, Pennsylvania is not a Native American name, because the guy who started this colony, his name was William Penn. Okay? And I knew this before, actually. He started this colony in the 1600s, back a long time ago. And Pennsylvania actually means Penn's woods. Okay? You know what woods are, right? Like forest. Okay? So this word Sylvania means woods, like Sunling, right? So Penn's woods is what the name of Pennsylvania is. I mentioned earlier that, of course, I stopped in Illinois, Chicago. My airplane stopped in Illinois. I found out that Illinois means great people or good people. Okay, that's the name. It's from a different American Native tribe. So Illinois is another American Indian name, and there's many, many more. Like one that I always remember, Kansas, right? Kansas means, let me write it up here, people of the south wind. Okay, Nanfeng, okay? So that's the name Kansas. That's, of course, right in the middle of the United States. So it's very interesting. If you're ever just curious, you can go online and just ask Google or, Chat GPT, what's the meaning of these American states and their names. And over 50% of the names, I forget what percent, but I think it's over half of American states have Native American names or American Indian names. So it's very interesting if you study this. But, yeah. Yes? Yeah, I don't know. This S is not pronounced. When we say Illinois, we don't say Illinois. Okay, never pronounce the S. It's just Illinois. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It could be something to do with the French, because the French were, they don't usually pronounce that last letter. And it could be the French. The French, of course, explored North America as well. And in fact, a lot of North America used to be French territory. So sometimes you'll see names that have a French influence on them. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, kind of fascinating. So anyhow, I had a great time there and got back last night. And I told Miller before I left, I said, if there's a problem with my airplane, I'll let you know. But I was really hoping that I was going to be here today because when you fly in the United States in the summertime, I really hate it. Or actually, I hate flying in the U.S. anytime, especially during holidays, summer vacation, Christmas vacation, because the airports are very busy. And one thing about flying across the United States is often in both the summer and the winter, you get, sometimes if you have bad weather, like there's a storm or, a thunderstorm or something goes wrong, all the flights get delayed. So, if you're making a connection from this city to this city, then to this city, you often get these disruptions, these problems. And then people start to miss their flights. They start to miss their connections. So whenever I book my airplanes now, my connections in America, when I have to transfer, I always, my rule now is it has every stopover, every layover has to be at least over 1 hour. If it's less than 1 hour, I say, it's fine, I'm going to have to look for a different flight. Because, like this time when coming back, when I flew from Chicago to San Francisco, my layover in San Francisco was over 3 hours. And I thought, okay, great. But then I was in Chicago and we were waiting and they said, oh, we're sorry, the plane's going to be delayed by 45 minutes. And I thought, uh-oh, And fortunately, it was only delayed by about 45 minutes to 1 hour. But many people on my airplane, they were really panicking because they had to catch flights in San Francisco, and some of those flights were less than an hour. So that means they have to run, or maybe they missed their flight, and that's always a real nightmare. Yeah. Stopover, layover. I guess you could say layover may be a better way of saying it. Stopover. Layover, I think layover is probably more common. So, if you transfer if you have to stop in an airport and transfer to another airplane, we call that a layover. So somebody might say, how long is your layover in Chicago? And somebody might say, 1 hour or 2 hours, right? My layover is 2 hours. So let's say it together, layover. Layover. Now, he said another word, it's very similar, it's stopover. Stopover. So I think they're okay, but I think most Americans probably say layover. So layover I think is very important. So if you ever do fly in America and you have layovers, make sure you have at least over 1 hour, because I personally like 2 hours, because some people say, I don't want to sit around, I don't want to wait that long, but that's much better than running for your flight or missing your flight. Let's say these words too as well, these state names. Ohio. Pennsylvania. And then this one, remember, we don't pronounce the S. Illinois. And then this one, Kansas. Right, okay. What city? Columbus. Yeah, I stayed in Columbus, yeah. So, yeah. And my sister and her friends showed me all over Columbus, so I got to I'd never been in Columbus before. Actually, I've driven through Columbus, but I've never stopped in Columbus. Case Western, okay. Well, there's even a bigger university in Columbus. It's Ohio State, which is huge, right? This university is massive. You know, their football team is very famous. And their biggest competitor for football is University of Michigan. And they hate each other. They hate each other. I have friends in Ohio. Whenever they talk about Michigan, they will not say the name Michigan. They will say up north, or they live in that northern state. They will not say the name Michigan because they hate their football team so much. So if you go to Columbus, University of Ohio State, their football stadium, you know, in Taichung we have the 洲际棒球场, right? It holds around 2万多人, right? Their football stadium holds over 10万人. That's for a university, okay? So, yeah, that's how some of the biggest football stadiums at universities are Ohio State, also Penn State. I think Michigan probably also has a big stadium. But these American universities invest lots of money in their football stadiums because it's a big deal. So, yeah. So, yeah, if you ever go to Ohio, don't talk about Michigan. So, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, and here's Michigan, yeah. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, varsity, yeah. Varsity is usually a higher level team. So when I was in high school, and also, you had your secondary team for younger students, that was called junior varsity, varsity. And then your top team, usually for the best players, we call that the varsity team. No, any sport. Yeah, any team sport. So yeah. So of course when I was like a 高一, 高二, my whole goal was to get onto the varsity thank you. To get on the varsity soccer 足球 team. And my first 2 years I was on the junior varsity team, and then, you know, American high school is 4 years. So my last 2 years I was on the varsity team. So yeah, and university I think often is the same, not always, but yeah. So anyhow, I was just talking about Michigan, and here we have the name Michigan. Now, this is another state name that we pronounce a little bit differently. When we say Michigan, we do not say, the CH is not ch, it's a sh sound. So we say Michigan. Michigan. Okay, so yeah, so just remember that. It's not Michigan, it's Michigan. Okay, so what's a very famous city in Michigan? Grand Rapids, but there's another city that's even bigger. Detroit, right? So Detroit is very famous, and of course Detroit became famous as the hub or the center for the American automobile industry, right? So companies like Ford and GM and Chrysler, you know, they were based in Detroit. Okay, so it was very funny. It wasn't funny, but it was interesting. When I was in America, I kept thinking about there's been an outbreak of a virus. Okay, not a virus, it's a bacteria or parasite. And it's on lettuce. You know, lettuce, what is lettuce? Is it 菠菜? You know, like when you eat salad. Yeah, like lettuce. Okay, and many Americans have gotten this problem, not too many, but quite a few. Many states have had this outbreak of this bacteria, and it's on fresh lettuce. So if you eat like salad, you know, or you know, like 生菜, right, or something like that, some people have gotten sick from this bacteria. So the whole time I was in America, I kept thinking about that. Whenever I would go to a restaurant or something, I'd be thinking, should I eat the lettuce, or is that okay? Is it safe? Because it's not usually a problem. It doesn't usually. Here it did kill somebody, but usually it just gives people really bad, like diarrhea, 拉肚子, for sometimes for weeks, maybe even months. They say in some cases. So it spread across many different states, and many people were talking about it. So here it says Michigan reports deaths from parasite. States say 2 patients had underlying conditions. Okay, now what is a parasite? Well, it usually is very small, but it doesn't have to be small. Sometimes parasites are larger. So what is the definition of a parasite? Right. basically it lives off of a bigger organism, right? So if you have something small and then it invades or takes something over and it's living off of that. So what would be some parasites that are well known? Can you think of lice? Okay. So dogs, right? And even humans get ticks or lice, right? So lice, L-I-C-E, and then we have ticks. Ticks are usually more common for dogs and cats, right? They're like, and they sit on there, and then what they do, they take the blood of that animal, or. So we have lice, we have ticks. Of course, sometimes even bigger animals are parasites, right? I'm trying to think of one. Well, Lyme disease is caused by ticks. Okay. No, it's a. I heard Taiwan has this now too. This is very common in America. So this disease comes from a deer tick. You know, deer is lu, right? So a deer has ticks, and those ticks get into the sunling, the forest. And so if you're hiking around Meiguo in the forest, sunling, and you're not careful and you get bit by one of these ticks, if it bites you, you can get this disease called Lyme disease. And I've had friends who have had it before. It makes you really tired, you lose your energy, you get a fever, and it can go on for a very, very long time. And you have to get special treatment for it. It's not a good thing. But yeah, it's people are always careful about, they don't want to catch Lyme disease. But it's spread by these deer ticks. So anyhow, these are all different kinds of parasites. But I want to tell you that sometimes we use this name to apply to people, right? So let's say somebody is living off of somebody else. They're taking advantage of somebody, or they're taking advantage of society, right? Maybe somebody says, you know what? I don't want to work. I don't want a job. I'm just going to have people give me money because I don't. You know, of course, if I'm poor and I really don't have money, or I have some special situation, well, then I'm not. That's fine. That's understandable. But if somebody is able and they just decide they just want other people to support them, maybe their parents, maybe their society, maybe their government. Sometimes we say those people are like parasites, right? Now, this is a very unpleasant name to call somebody. If you call somebody a parasite, it's very, very negative, right? But it means that, hey, I think you're living off of somebody else. You're taking from them, and you're not giving anything back, right? So why don't we say it one more time? Parasite. Parasite. And then this word, lettuce. Lettuce. Okay, lice. Lice. Ticks. Ticks. Lice are very, very small. Lice are so small, they're very white. They're like, sometimes people get them in their hair. It also makes people very itchy. But ticks are usually bigger. You can actually see a tick very clearly on a dog or a cat. Actually, with ticks, we also say, very similar, we say fleas. Flea is a tao zao, like we have a flea market. So if your dog might have fleas or they might have ticks. When I was very young, growing up in Hualien, we had a houzi, a monkey, a pet monkey. Not me, but our neighbor had a monkey. And if the neighborhood dogs would get too close to the monkey had a leash, a chain. He would grab those dogs and he would sit on them, and then he would go through their hair looking for ticks, and he would pick off the ticks and he would eat them. So, in a way, the dogs didn't like it, but he was kind of helping the dogs, right? Because he would go through all the dog's hair looking for those ticks, and then he would pick them off and eat them. So it was kind of, I guess it was a good relationship, I hope. So, yeah. Okay, now I want to say one more thing here. It says these people who died had underlying conditions. Now, this is a term I see a lot, including Taiwan, back during Yiqing, during COVID-19. But even now today, sometimes people will die from a sickness. But the doctors will say the sickness is not the only thing that caused them to die. It means that they had other conditions that contributed or added to the cause of death. So let's say, for example, you catch a cold, 感冒, and you die, right? And people say, wow, that person died from catching a cold. And they say, well, he had underlying conditions, meaning maybe he had heart disease, or maybe he had a stroke, or maybe he had some other problems that added to this. So the combination created that. So underline is a good word because underline means something that is in the background. It's like almost in the Beijing, right? So for example, if we say, what is the underlying cause of that problem? It means what is the background or the Beijing or the basic foundational cause. So underline is a word we use a lot. It means something that's in the background. Maybe we cannot see it. For example, we might say, well, that country has a lot of problems, and we say, what are the underlying causes of those problems? Maybe it's not the obvious cause. Maybe it's not the cause you can see, but it is the underlying cause. It's something that is behind the scenes. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so why don't we say together, underline. Underline. Underlying conditions. Okay, so let's just look at this. It says, the Michigan outbreak linked to recalled iceberg lettuce grown by Taylor Farms in Mexico is the nation's largest, the FDA said. Michigan health officials confirm the first 2 deaths connected to the ongoing national outbreak of cyclosporiasis. This is a very long name. The parasitic infection known for causing explosive diarrhea. So this is not good diarrhea. I mean, diarrhea is never good, right? Diarrhea, what does diarrhea mean? La dudza, right? But this is explosive diarrhea, so this is very bad. I mean, you don't want this, right? Because explosive means like explosion, right? So, if you're, outside or somewhere, this is not a good thing to have. So why don't we say together, diarrhea. 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 Explosive diarrhea. Explosive diarrhea. Explosive diarrhea. And explosive comes from what word? Explosion. What does explosion mean? Yeah, like a bomb, explodes, right? So why don't we say together, explosion. 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 And then if we want to have the 动词, we say to explode, right? You could say the bomb exploded, or you can say if something's becoming very popular, you can say there's been an explosion. This fad or this trend or this item has exploded in popularity. Okay, so explosive diarrhea. Now, I want to say for the word diarrhea, I mean, this is not a word I like to talk about a lot, but sometimes people will use other words. Somebody might say they have the runs, okay? So if someone says he has the runs, okay, that means he has la dudza. So that's a slightly nicer way to say it, okay, maybe. Okay, so here it says a Michigan outbreak. Now, outbreak we've talked about many times. Back during Yiqing, we talked about the spread or like a epidemic, right? Like COVID-19 was an outbreak. There was an outbreak of COVID-19 across the world. So why don't we say together, outbreak. 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 That's a noun, means. Okay, linked to or connected to recalled iceberg lettuce. Now, iceberg, of course, is 冰山, right? But iceberg lettuce is a very popular kind of lettuce. It's used in many salads. It's used in many different things. So why don't we say together one more time, iceberg lettuce. Iceberg lettuce. Iceberg lettuce. Iceberg lettuce. Now, what does recall mean? If you recall something, what does that mean? Right. Now, we see this a lot with cars, right? You buy a car, and many people buy this car, and then one day the company says, we want to recall this car for repairs. Maybe there's a problem, or there's something that they need to fix. So all the cars need to come back, and then they fix that, and then they can go out again. So recall. Now, the recall is also another word we use. Way we use recall is for what? Yeah, for political reasons, right? If you recall a politician, what does that mean? It means you have to, how do we say? Yeah, not recruit. It's like we have to recount the votes, right? We have to, we cancel their election, right? So let's say somebody is elected as president, and then we have a recall. It means that we have to do this all over again. We have to re-vote because there was a problem. Okay, so we say election recall. Sometimes, if people think there was something wrong with the election, maybe the votes were not counted correctly, right? The vote, the 选票, the 投票, there was some sort of 毛病 or problem. They will say, we need to have a recall, which means we'll do it again. Okay, so this recalled iceberg lettuce, grown by Taylor Farms, this is a company, in Mexico, is the nation's largest. It's the largest outbreak. So it says, Michigan health officials confirmed the first 2 deaths connected to the ongoing, so this is happening right now, it's still going on, ongoing national outbreak of cyclosporiasis. It's this bacteria. The parasitic, okay, so here's the name, we had the name parasite, right? Parasitic is the 形容词. So why don't we say together, parasitic. Parasitic. Okay, infection known for causing explosive diarrhea. Okay, so let's read this together. The Michigan outbreak linked to recalled iceberg lettuce. Lettuce. Grown by Taylor Farms in Mexico is the nation's largest. The FDA says. Michigan health officials confirmed the first 2 deaths connected to the ongoing national outbreak of cyclosporiasis. Let's say it one more time. Cyclosporiasis. The parasitic infection known for causing explosive diarrhea. Let's say it one more time. Explosive diarrhea. Okay. Yeah. It's a big brand in America, yeah. So, Taiwan recently had a problem with cooking oil, right? Or oil, right? There was a scandal with oil. So, of course, people are saying, oh, Taiwan has many food safety issues, right? But I think most countries, sometimes they have this kind of problem. So here in America, this is the big food safety problem right now, is this lettuce. And so, yeah, Taylor Farms, that company is very well known. They're well-known 品牌 for vegetables and fruit and other things in America. They grow this lettuce in Mexico, and then they bring it in. It's very interesting. If you go to a supermarket in Meiguo and you look at the fruit, the 水果, I always look at where they're grown because they'll have a label. And I find that most of the tropical fruit comes from South America or Central America. Like the bananas, they come from Honduras and Guatemala and maybe Colombia, and the pineapple also comes from there. I did not see any Taiwan pineapple, but maybe someday, yeah. But there was, all those fruits come from other places, yeah. So here it says, Michigan, which has led the U.S. case count, reported 11,234 confirmed cases of cyclosporiasis and the 2 deaths on August 3. The state's health department noted that both patients had significant underlying health conditions that may have been impacted by the illness and related dehydration. Okay, so these 2 people who died had significant, they were serious. These were not 小事情. These were significant underlying health conditions that may have impacted, 影响, right? Been impacted by the illness and related dehydration. What does dehydration mean? Yeah, this is very important, right? In the summertime when it's very hot, people should drink more water because if they don't, they will become, okay, we say they will become dehydrated, okay? So dehydrated, so sometimes people say it's important to stay, let's write it over here, to stay hydrated, okay? So hydrated means you have enough water, okay? So dehydration is a 名词, which means someone has become, so that's a become dehydrated. Okay, so why don't we say together, become dehydrated. Become dehydrated. Or you could simply say, I am dehydrated. Okay, he is dehydrated, or I feel dehydrated. Okay, and then the opposite of dehydrated is hydrated. So we can say, stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Or we could say, it's good to be hydrated. We could say, stay hydrated, be hydrated, something like that. So it's a 名词. But then here we say, if you do not have enough water, you have dehydration. This is a 名词. So why don't we say together, dehydration. Dehydration. Yeah, and this is a very common word because we use it when people don't drink enough water, or they're sweating too much and they lose water and they become or if they're sick. So one of the big problems with like 拉肚子 diarrhea is people they become dehydrated, right? Because they're losing too much water. Okay, so they think that this may have also caused the problem. Now, you can see it's a very serious problem because 11,234 cases in one state, okay? That's just one U.S. state, and this has been a problem in many states, okay? So one day my mother and I and some friends went to a 自助餐, like a buffet restaurant in America. I completely stayed away from the salad bar. The salad bar, say, I'm not going there. I'm not eating that. I'll eat other things because I was scared of this, okay? Now, I'm sure that everyone's paying attention to this. They're checking. They're probably being very careful and cautious, but I was still worried about going to the salad bar, so I didn't go. So it says here, case count. Of course, this means how many cases do we have in America or Michigan. So the case count is number 1 in Michigan, okay? And yeah, so let's read this. Michigan, which has led the U.S. case count, reported 11,234 Let's say it one more time. 11,234 confirmed cases of cyclosporiasis, and the 2 deaths on August 3. The state's health department noted that both patients had significant underlying, let's say it again, significant underlying health conditions that may have been impacted by the illness and related dehydration. Dehydration. Right. Of course, when we say patients, we're talking about 病人, right? Okay, like people who are sick. Okay. It says here, health officials didn't immediately provide further information about the deceased. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has not yet released a statement, but a banner atop its cyclospora, I don't know if that's a different word, tracking page read, CDC is aware of 2 cyclosporiasis-related deaths in people with underlying health conditions from Michigan as part of this outbreak. Okay, I don't want to read this whole paragraph, but let's just look at this. It says here, the deceased. What does this mean? Dead, right? So if someone is deceased, it means they're dead, basically. Yeah. So this can be used as, the deceased can be used as a 名词 to mean the person, or we can use it as a 形容词. We can say the deceased parent, or deceased relative, or deceased person. And so it becomes a 形容词, okay, deceased. So why don't we say together, deceased. Deceased. Right, so it's a very common word. We use this quite a bit. Okay, and then it says here, this banner atop. What does atop mean? Atop means what? On top of something, right? So we can say he climbed, he was standing atop Taipei 101, right? It means he was on top of Taipei 101. So atop is just another way of saying on top of, okay? Instead of saying on top of, we say atop, okay? So why don't we say together, atop? Atop. Okay, of course banner can be a cheese, like a flag, but on a website, usually there's like a banner. We can also say on a 网站 or 网页, there's a banner, like it's almost like a 广告, yeah. So often it's a 广告, okay? So anyhow, I think this is just repeating what we just read. So let's go on here. Yeah. I think if it involved, because CDC is a national federal organization, I think if they see this as being a broader problem, like it's more than one state, if it goes across states, then they would get involved. So so this would be something that, obviously, this is a big problem. So whether it's COVID-19 or this problem or something else, the CDC is called the Centers for Disease Control. I think Taiwan has a similar name for their organization. So yeah. So here, let's read this. It says, it's a sobering reminder that food-borne illnesses should never be dismissed as just a stomach bug. Former Food and Drug Administration Deputy Commissioner for Food Policy and Response, Frank Yanis, told USA Today, every preventable foodborne illness matters, and that prevention must always remain our highest priority. Okay, so sometimes when somebody gets sick or they don't feel well, especially your stomach, you say, someone says, are you feeling okay? And you say, oh, I have some kind of bug. Okay, now bug, what's bug mean? Yeah, it could be a worm or an insect or something like that. But often when people feel like they've been sick with something, like they caught something like a virus or bacteria or something, they'll say I have a bug. Okay, so it doesn't mean they actually have a worm, but it just means they caught something, usually a virus or bacteria. And so somebody says, oh, he doesn't feel well because he has a stomach bug. Okay, so it's not a scientific word, but it's a word people use. So here it says this whole situation is a sobering reminder. Now, what does the word sober mean? To be aware, to be alert. Now, sober has another meaning. It means you're not drunk, right? So of course, sometimes when you go out and you're driving down the road on Friday or Saturday night, the police are out giving a sobriety test. Okay? Sobriety means it tests if you are sober or not. Okay? If you're not sober, then you're what? You're drunk, right? And, sorry. These are two different words. So, drunk. What's another word for drunk? Yeah, we could say that. Intoxicated, yeah. These are very common words. Now, someone is drunk. This is very common, right? You say, oh, he's drunk, or you're drunk. Okay, inebriated or intoxicated are more technical words, but they're often very common too. So if you say he is intoxicated, it means he's drunk, or he is inebriated, it means he is drunk. Okay. Now if you say no, I'm not intoxicated, I am completely sober, means I'm not drinking alcohol, right? So sober can also mean, so that's one meaning for sober, but it also sober means someone is very serious about something. They're thinking very clearly about something. They're taking it seriously, okay? So right now if you say this is, like here it says this is a sobering reminder, it means this is a very serious reminder. This should make us be alert. This should make us aware. This is something we should take seriously, okay? So you could say going through a major earthquake is a sobering experience, right? If you go to a big earthquake, it wakes you up, right? You think, I need to think this, I need to be ready, I need to be prepared. It's very sobering, okay? It makes me alert or aware. Does everybody understand that? Okay, yeah. Yeah. DUI. Yeah. So DUI stands for what? Under the influence. Yeah. Let me erase some of these words. Driving under the influence, okay? Here, sorry, I'll write this in very... Here, DUI means driving under the influence. Sorry. You know the word influence, right? 影响, right? But here it says driving under, it's D-U-I. Driving under the influence of what? Of alcohol, okay? Usually it's alcohol. So if you say someone is DUI, it means they're driving under the influence of alcohol. Means you're driving and you're inebriated or you're intoxicated by the legal definition. Because Taiwan has a different definition of, or standard of intoxication than the U.S. does. The U.S. is actually more 轻松的 than Taiwan. Taiwan is very strict about this right now. So basically I tell all my 美国朋友 when they come to Taiwan, I say if you drink one beer and you drive, you are legally intoxicated, okay? But in America, you could drink 2 beers and drive, and you're not legally intoxicated. So when I go back to America, like when I went to Ohio, I was with my friends, and my friends were drinking all the time. I mean, we would go out, and then they would drive home, and I'd be like, isn't this a problem? And they're like, oh, no, it's fine. You know? So I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's fine. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Maybe they didn't, they weren't, I don't know. I don't know if they were legally intoxicated or not. But they were not worried about it because the standard in America was more relaxed or we could say more loose than Taiwan. Because in Taiwan, you would never do that. Drive under, drink a couple beers or drink a couple cocktails and then drive your car. So yeah. So anyhow, going back to the word sober, somebody might say, are you drunk? And you say, no, I'm completely sober. Or this is a very sobering experience. Yes? Drugs. Yeah. I notice in the English newspapers in Taiwan, they just say drug driving. Because, we say drunk. Drunk means, 喝醉, drunk driving. But so now I notice the English newspapers say drug driving. So I don't know. I guess you could say driving under the influence of drugs. You could say that. But drug driving is maybe a shorter way of saying that. So yeah, I know this has become a serious problem in Taiwan. Yeah. Yeah, if something gives you a rude awakening, it means it's a very sudden and unpleasant awareness of something. No, it means it's just unpleasant and very sudden. Yeah. So why don't we say these words together? Sober. Sober. Sobering. Sobering. Drunk. Drunk. Inebriated. Inebriated. Intoxicated. Intoxicated. Okay. Driving under the influence. Driving under the influence. It's interesting because DUI, maybe it could be for drugs too, because technically alcohol is a drug, right? It is a drug. Alcohol is a kind of drug because when you take it, it changes your body chemistry and all that. So yeah, anyhow, this is something. So intoxicated, if you notice this word here in the middle of intoxicated, there's a word here, toxic. Toxic. What does toxic mean? Poisonous, right? So alcohol really, in a way, I mean, I like to drink alcohol sometimes. It is a kind of toxin. It is toxic, right? It's not normally a good thing, especially if you drink too much. So if something is a poison, we call that a toxin. 名词 T-O-X-I-N. Okay, and if it as a 形容词, we say it is toxic. T-O-X-I-C. Okay, you can say there are many things that are very toxic and we should not take them. Or we could say that is a toxin. Okay, there are many things that are poison to us. We should not take them in. So why don't we say those two words together? The first, the 名词 toxin. Toxin. And then 形容词 toxic. Toxic. T-O-X-I-C. Now, I will say the word toxic can be used to describe people who are very, very, they damage, how do we say this? They manipulate other people. They treat other people very badly. They're very kind of bad people, nasty people. We say his behavior or her behavior is very toxic. Or we could say it is very toxic to other relationships. It means it poisons relationships. It destroys or damages relationships. So we could say, when you do that, that is very toxic behavior. Okay? So we can use the word toxic to describe the way that people act or the way that people are. Okay. So anyhow, it says here, this is a sobering reminder that foodborne illnesses. Now, foodborne, you notice here there's two words and we put them together. Borne, what does B-O-R-N-E mean? Well, it means carried. To carry something. If you carry something, you to borne, not B-O-R-N, with no E means to, like 出生了, to born. But born, B-O-R-N-E, means to carry, right? So foodborne means carried by food. So, of course, there are many diseases or sicknesses that are foodborne. But we can also say animal-borne, right? It's carried by animals, animal-borne sickness. Like, well, some people say COVID-19 maybe was started with animals, maybe. Or maybe it started in a lab in China. We don't know. But so it says here that, why don't we say together, foodborne. Foodborne. Foodborne illnesses. Foodborne illnesses. Okay, it says these foodborne illnesses should never be dismissed. Okay, if you dismiss something, what does that mean? Yeah, you treat it lightly. You just say, it's 没有关系, it's no problem, right? If someone says, should we be careful about doing that, or should we be aware of this? And somebody says, don't worry about it. It's no problem. That's to dismiss something. And if something is dismissed, we say that he has a very dismissive, or he is dismissive, dismiss. Yeah. We could say dismissive attitude, or we could simply say he is very dismissive of something, okay? So you could say he has a very dismissive attitude towards other people's pain, or he is very dismissive of other people's pain, right? Dismissive of, or he has a dismissive attitude. Okay, does everybody understand that? Just means, 没有关系, I don't care, it's no big deal. Okay, so why don't we say together, dismissive. Dismissive. Dismissive attitude. Right, so he's saying, this guy is saying, this foodborne illnesses should never be dismissed as just a stomach bug. If someone says, don't worry about it, it's just a stomach bug, right? He's saying that's not good. Okay, the former FDA, Food and Drug Administration, Taiwan also has a FDA, right, a Food Drug Administration. Deputy Commissioner for Food Policy and Response, Frank Yenas, told USA, every preventable foodborne illness matters, and that prevention must always remain our highest priority. So preventable means, of course, that it can be prevented, right? Some things cannot be prevented. There's nothing we can do. But some things are preventable. We can prevent them. So why don't we say together, preventable. 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 I want to say it was very interesting. When I came back, my plane arrived at the Taoyuan Jichang about 6点多, right? And when we came through out of the gate of came off the airplane, there was a big table there, and they had these cards, plastic cards, the Taiwan officials, and they were green. And they said, everyone has to take a green card. And then we walked further, and it was interesting because there were two lines. There was tons of people on one side, and they were in the red line, right? And they had to get all their bags, they're checked, and they had to go through a thing. But then because coming from Meikuo, there was no problem. So all the people from the we just walked right through, no problem. And so this is preventing a problem with pork and meat and vegetables. They were looking for, 猪肉 and things like that. They were checking all that stuff. But I guess America doesn't have a problem with that. So the people from the American flight just walked right through because we had the green card. So anyhow, we could say that this is trying to prevent a problem with this in Taiwan. Okay, so it says here, prevention must always remain our highest priority. It means this must be the most important thing for us, okay? I know in Taiwan there are certain things that we make a very high priority, like pork disease, right? Or problems with our pigs or anything like that. We don't want that. Okay. Okay, so let's read this. It's a sobering reminder that foodborne illnesses should never be dismissed as just a stomach bug. Former Food and Drug Administration Deputy Commissioner for Food Policy and Response, Frank Yanis, told USA Today, every preventable foodborne illness matters. And that prevention must always remain our highest priority. Priority. What does priority mean? Most important. So maybe somebody asks you, your friend asks you, what is your priority? What are your priorities in life today, right? Somebody might say, well, I just want to enjoy my life, or I want to relax. Somebody might say, well, I want to make as much money as possible, or I want to buy a nice house, or I want to provide for my family. Those are all priorities that people have, right? We say they are high priorities, or we could say something is low priority, right? What? A what? A bucket list. Okay. Bucket list is a little bit different. Bucket lists are those things that you wish to do or hope to do, okay? Before you die, yeah. Okay. This is a very funny expression, okay? A list, you make a list, right? I like to make lists. Like every week I have a list of things to do, right? A to-do list. But a bucket list is the things that you want to do before you die. So they're not priority. Well, I guess they are. Maybe they're priorities, but they're kind of like we say a wish list, right? Wish, W-I-S-H, 梦想, right? Or dream, wish list. A bucket list. And does anyone know where this word bucket, what is a bucket? Well, no, a bucket is like a pail. Yeah, like a metal, yeah, like a water bucket. You have a water, and usually it has a handle on it, right? Yeah. So, no, it means to die. So this is it's kind of a funny expression. If someone kicks the bucket, it means they die, basically. So you say, oh, he kicked the bucket, means, and I honestly don't know where that comes from, right? It's kind of a weird expression, but this is a very, very casual slang or expression. We don't normally say this. I mean, if we're kind of joking or we're just talking very, very casually, we say, oh, he kicked the bucket. Well, maybe that's it. But this is not about suicide. This is not 自杀 or anything like that. But yeah, you wouldn't say this about somebody you care for, right? Like your friend or somebody. But if you're talking about in a very casual way, you could say, oh, he kicked the bucket. Okay. So why don't we say it together? Bucket list. Bucket list. Right. And a bucket is normally something that you carry like water, if you want to. I don't see too many buckets anymore, but sometimes you want to clean your house, you have a plastic bucket and you put water in there and you use it to mop the floor or something. So yeah, we do have buckets, actually. They're very common. So it says here, cyclosporiasis is generally not considered deadly, though it can cause serious disease in certain at-risk people. Death from the infection is uncommon in the United States, said state health officials and the CDC, which describes cyclosporiasis as not usually life-threatening. So life-threatening, of course, these two words become one 形容词, life-threatening, right? So we could say COVID-19 is a life-threatening disease. It could be a life-threatening disease, although not for most people. But some diseases are life-threatening. Now, at risk also becomes, these two words are joined with a hyphen to become one expression. At risk means people who are at risk, right? So somebody who has heart disease or someone who has cancer, they would be at-risk people. Because, why? Because they already have underlying health conditions, right? They have other health conditions that could make them more at risk or could make them at risk, right? Now, we could say that children or older people are more at risk for certain diseases, right? That's just normal, okay? So, but normally this is not generally or normally considered deadly. Of course, deadly means to cause death, okay? So let's read this. Cyclosporiasis is not generally considered deadly. Deadly. Though it can cause serious disease in certain at-risk people. Death from the infection is uncommon in the United States, said state health officials and the CDC, which describes cyclosporiasis as not usually life-threatening. Life-threatening. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's just read one more paragraph and then we'll go to a different article. It says, in fact, cyclosporiasis low death rate may contribute to a lack of regular surveillance and research of cyclospora. I guess cyclospora is the name of the bacteria, and that's the actual organism. In America, Dr. Robert Mandrell, a microbiology researcher and former U.S. Department of Agriculture official, told USA Today. So what he's saying here is that because cyclosporiasis has a low death rate, it means that probably for that reason, there is a lack of regular surveillance. Okay, what does surveillance mean? To watch, right? So we've talked about this before. In like this room even, there's like a surveillance camera, right? It's watching, okay, this room, just to make sure there's no problems. We can say there's many kinds of surveillance. Even like Weixing satellites can be used for surveillance. We say surveillance satellites, right? Okay, so why don't we say together surveillance? Surveillance. Okay, so there's a lack of regular surveillance and research about cyclospora. Cyclospora is the bacteria in America because this disease, this sickness has a low death rate. Okay, so yeah, maybe they need to do more of that now in the future. Okay, so let's read this. In fact, cyclosporiasis, low death rate, may contribute to the lack of regular surveillance and research of cyclospora in America. Dr. Robert Mandrell, a microbiology researcher and former U.S. Department of Agriculture official, told USA Today. What is agriculture? 农业, right? Farming, right? Or fruits and vegetables and things like that. Like Taiwan has a lot of agriculture, right? We can say there's lots of farms and they grow many things. Does everybody know what microbiology is? Yeah. So when we talk about microbiology, often we talk about bacteria, viruses, right? Okay. Virus, of course, is a 病毒, and bacteria, also causes many sicknesses. So there's many kinds. Of course, some microbiology is good for us, right? Like antibiotics. Penicillin is a kind of not a virus. It's a what is it? It's a I don't want to say fungus, but it's kind of like that. It's something that grows. It's like a spore. Yeah. So anyhow, these are all kinds of microbiology. Why don't we say together, microbiology? Microbiology. Of course, micro means anything that's very small, right? Okay, so, yeah. Okay, before we go on, are there any questions about anything? Yes? Yeah, I don't know how easy it is to kill this on, if it's on lettuce, right? I don't know how easy it is to kill it or what you need to do. I think the problem is this causes diarrhea. And what happens with diarrhea is one person gets sick and then maybe they don't wash their hands or something, and then it goes to the next person, or it gets on something else, and then it goes from there to there to there. It just keeps spreading. So it's not like a contagious, it's not like a virus, 病毒, where I catch a cold and then they catch a cold. But it's more like if I don't wash my hands or something like that, then maybe I prepare food or something goes from this to this. So the bacteria just keeps spreading, and then people get sick from it. So, yeah. So, yeah, this has been going on for several months now. And I know that people are very aware of it now. But I think the other problem with this cyclosporiasis is that when someone catches it, they can have it it can affect them for weeks, and sometimes I heard even months they can have this problem. And so it's not very pleasant to have this, especially if it's explosive diarrhea. That sounds terrible. Yeah, so any other questions? Okay, so let's go on and look at a more pleasant, well, I don't know if it's a pleasant article, but look at a different article. Yeah, so, yeah, it's very interesting to go to America and just watch and read the news there, because it's obviously in the U.S. it's different from the news that they cover is sometimes quite different from here. One of the things that everyone was talking about, if you just look at some of the articles here, like here, is Trump secretly a socialist? Trump was attacking communism recently, so some people say, but the mayor of New York City is a Democrat socialist, right? So many people are talking about that. And, of course, in the summertime, many people are talking about forest fires, right? And, there's other news that's very important, people are very, talking about. So it's always interesting to see what news is covered. When one of the last days I was in America, I went to the supermarket and I bought the Sunday copy of the New York Times. And I know that many people read the New York Times online, right? But when you buy the Sunday edition of the New York Times, it's about that thick. It's huge. It's not coupons. They have their Sunday magazine. They have their special Sunday section on fashion. They have an editorial section that's huge. They have a whole section of the newspaper just for editorials and opinion articles. But they have all these special sections in the newspaper, but it was that thick. It was that, and I'm just opening up the New York Times and just reading all these articles. I thought, wow, this is a real newspaper, right? I mean, it made me feel, I hadn't seen a newspaper like that in such a long time. Of course, in Taiwan, I buy the Taipei Times, but it only has like 20-something pages, right? But if you buy the New York Times, that edition, it probably has over 100 pages. And you could just sit there and read it and read it and read it. It took me like 2 or 3 days to read that whole newspaper. It was $6. $6, yeah. So, but yeah, it was, I mean, I thought, maybe, I don't know if every edition is $6 or just the Sunday edition. But it's funny, traditionally in America, Sunday newspapers, there's another thing that people like to do in the Sunday newspaper. The comics, okay? Okay. Now, comics are like cartoon, right? But traditionally, now the New York Times didn't have a lot of comics. But traditionally, American newspapers on Sunday, they have a whole comic section. And people just read the comics. It'll be like maybe 2 pages, just comics. And they'll be in color. And so people like to read the comics. But another thing that people like to read, and many newspapers will have it every day. But I know on Sunday, the New York Times and other papers, they have a special version of this. They have many puzzles, like Sudoku. But another one that's very popular is the crossword puzzle. Does everybody know what a crossword puzzle is? Yeah, where you have the words go like this, and they give you clues, right? And you have to think. And I have to be honest with you. I like crossword puzzles, but when I look at the New York Times crossword puzzle, usually in 5 minutes I give up because it's quite challenging. But I have friends that really enjoy the New York Times crossword puzzle because it's very, very challenging. You can spend hours trying to figure out those words, which words are. But it's a good brain challenge. My mother loves to do, Sudoku. Is that, how do you say it in Chinese? Yeah, really, really enjoys that. So if you look at the New York Times on Sunday, there's a whole section with puzzles. And so people like to do that too. So anyhow, it was fun to look at the Sunday edition of the New York Times. Yeah. So anyhow, one of the stories, again, this is not so happy, but it's something that happened. There was another shooting. Of course, we've talked about this before. It says in an In-N-Out Burger restaurant in Idaho. Okay. So Idaho is a state that I'm very familiar with because many Americans from Idaho come and work in Taichung for Meiguang. Their Taichung Micron is based in Idaho, in Boise, the Shoudu of Idaho. So I met many, many people from Idaho. So when I saw this article about the shooting, I was immediately concerned, but it did not take place in the Shoudu. It took place in a different city in Idaho. But a very popular hanbao, 连锁店 like McDonald's is called In-N-Out Burger. Okay, very famous. They do not have In-N-Out Burger in Taichung or Taiwan, but it's a very, very popular chain. And it started in California, and it spread across the United States. And many of my American friends think, maybe it sounds like a guangao, but they think this is the best fast food burger in America. Now, I know that there's many, many fast food burgers. But what? I think so. They're still famous for potatoes. Like I heard even in Taichung or Taiwan, if you go to Maidanlao and you eat their sutiao, their French fries, they're probably from Idaho. Yeah, the potatoes, they make into sutiao, to French fries. Okay. So anyhow, there was a shooting, and they're just talking about one of the people who was killed in the shooting, and they worked at this In-N-Out Burger. Okay. So it says here, amazing In-N-Out worker is mourned. 23-year-old woman was doing what she loved. Okay, so when you mourn someone, what does that mean? maybe you cry, but you don't have to cry. It means that you remember them, you feel sad about them, right? So people will mourn different things. Somebody might mourn the loss of their job, right? Maybe you have a job and you really love your job, and then one day your boss says, sorry, you're fired or you have to leave. You might mourn your job. Or I know many friends, they mourn when their pet dies, right? If their dog or their cat passes away, they might mourn for a very long time because they were very close to their pet. So you can mourn many different things, okay? Why don't we say together, mourn. Mourned. Okay, so if someone is mourning, we can say they are in mourning, okay? Right now they are going through that. For example, you could say right now he is in mourning for his dog, who died, okay? So we could say someone is in mourning, or you could say they are mourning something, okay? So amazing in-and-out worker is mourned, okay? 23-year-old woman is doing what she loves. So let's see who this person was. Okay. It says Ashley Garibay was killed on August 1. The in-and-out worker killed in a mass shooting in Idaho has been identified by loved ones as a California woman with an amazing soul who loved helping others and dreamed of one day managing her own store. So I guess she wanted to also be a branch manager for this. So anyhow, mass shooting means what? Mass means more than one person. If it's just one person, it's just a shooting. But if it was a mass shooting, it means usually many people were shot. Okay. And so why don't we say together, mass shooting. Mass shooting. Now we use the word mass for many things. Like we might say mass communication. Yeah. So mass communication be like a sort of 沟通 for many. It reaches many people. Like if you study mass communications, you might learn about, like I did, journalism, 新闻, or newspapers, or TV, or radio. Those are all kinds of mass communication. Mass production, very good. So a mass production, like if you produce something, like 生产, right? Mass production means you produce many, many things at the same time. Most production we see today from factories is mass production. They don't just make one thing, or they don't just make a few things. They make thousands or tens of thousands, okay? So mass is a very good word to use. Mass can be used in other ways. So if you say, what is the mass of something, what does that mean? It means how big is it? What is the weight or the size of something? So if you look at a building or a ship, 船, and you say, what is the mass of that? Or what is the total mass? It means how big or how heavy is something, the size of something, okay? There's one other name that mass comes to mind is in the Catholic Church, 天主教, when people go to church, like kind of like 做礼拜, and they pray, we say they're going to mass. So it's like for Catholics, 天主教, they use the word mass. So you say, oh, he has to go to mass on Sunday, or he is going to mass. Okay, so mass becomes a 名词. Okay, and that word is only used for 天主教, not 基督教. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's more for Christmas, like 圣诞节. There might be a midnight mass, like middle, like 12点钟, and they go to, just like, here I know in Taichung, people like to go to the midnight church service at Donghai, the 教堂, right, for Christmas, 圣诞节. But for a Catholic church, we might say midnight mass for Christmas, okay? Yeah. Oh, in a? Because, yeah, it's a good question. Because here we're talking about a specific shooting. So we say in a mass shooting. But if we say there was, we usually use the word a because we're saying the word a shooting. So just take out the word, remove the word mass. It becomes a shooting, right? There was a shooting, or so yeah, and then we're adding a 形容词, so it becomes a mass shooting. So yeah. Yeah, it's a specific shooting. It was a specific incident. Yeah. Any other questions about this? Okay. So anyhow, she was described as an amazing soul. Now sometimes, what is a soul? Yeah, your spirit, right? So sometimes when we describe people, we call them a soul. Like we can say she is a very loving soul. Not that we, now remember, keep this in mind. I'm not saying she has a loving soul. I could say that. I could say she has a loving soul. But I might use this as a description of the person, not her soul, but just the whole person. So I might say she is a loving soul. Okay? So here we're using it that way. We're saying she was an amazing soul. It doesn't say she had an amazing soul. It says she was an amazing soul. So the word soul can mean your spirit, but it can also mean just the whole person. Right? Do you understand that difference? Yeah. So, yeah, well, soulmate, that's a different meaning. But, yeah, that's more like a partner or spouse or something. But yeah, so just keep that in mind. Soul can mean your spirit, but it can also mean the whole person. Right. So I'll give you an example. If there is a disaster, like some sort of EY, like and people were killed, and we say there were 20 souls lost in that accident. Okay. Now you might think, well, that's a strange way of saying it, but what it means is there were 20 people killed in that accident. It's very interesting. I've noticed sometimes when there is an emergency and on an airplane, and they will ask the pilot, they'll say, how many souls on board? They'll say it that way. They'll mean, how many people are on your airplane right now? And they'll say, oh, whatever. So they use that word sometimes specifically to mean lives or people, life or people. Okay, so let's read this. Ashley Garibay was killed August 1. The In-N-Out worker killed in a mass shooting in Idaho has been identified by loved ones as a California woman. Let's say it again. California woman with an amazing soul, who love helping others, and dreamed one day of managing her own store. Okay, I made a mistake. But I was correct in one way. Actually, it says she with an amazing soul. It means, so here it actually means she had an amazing soul. But they could easily have changed this and they could have said she was an amazing soul. So either way would be fine. But yeah, what I said earlier was, what they actually meant was she had an amazing soul. So yeah, either way, you can say it either way. It's fine. Okay, so here it says, Sabrina Garibay shared on a GoFundMe page that her daughter, 23-year-old Ashley Garibay, was among the 3 people killed in the August 1 shooting at a newly opened In-N-Out in the picturesque southern Idaho city of Twin Falls. Okay, so this wasn't, the capital of Idaho, the Shodu of Idaho is a place called Boise. Okay, now it's very funny. I like most Americans, I say Boise, okay? But I was informed by my friends from this place that the correct way to say it is with a S sound, not a Z sound. So they would say Boise. Boise with a S, Boise. But most Americans say Boise, okay, yeah. So I guess Boise is the correct way. Okay, so anyhow, but this was not in Boise. This was in Twin Falls. It's another smaller city in Idaho. Okay, and what are falls? Does anyone know? Like Pubu, right? Yeah, falls, Twin Falls. So it means two falls. Okay, yeah. Okay, so she shared on GoFundMe, a GoFundMe page. Does anyone know what GoFundMe is? It's a way of, we call this, there's a special name for this. We call this crowdfunding. I know that sometimes in Taiwan, I've heard sometimes they do this. So what is crowdfunding? Does anyone know? Let's say I want to start a company and I need money. Or let's say I have an emergency and I need money. There are special websites where you can ask people to donate money. And it's called crowdfunding. And so maybe maybe I need $1,000. And I find 1,000 people and every person just gives $1. Then I have enough money, right? Now maybe they do that because they want to help me or they like me, or they feel sorry for me, but we have these pages. So sometimes when there's like a tragedy, like somebody gets sick, maybe somebody has 癌症, cancer, and their family cannot pay for the medical treatment because it's very, very expensive. They will use, there's a special website called GoFundMe. Okay, it's one word, GoFundMe. That's a kind of crowdfunding, okay? And they just put it out there, and anybody can give some money. Say, hey, I'll give you $2, or I'll give you $5, or whatever. You know, I'll give you $1. You know. So why don't we say this together? Crowdfunding. Crowdfunding. So this is a crowdfunding website. So it's called, let's say together, GoFundMe. GoFundMe. If you fund somebody, what does that mean? You pay for them, right? You give them money, right? You can fund a company, you can fund a person. It means you give them money. Okay, so she shared on a GoFundMe page that her daughter was among the 3 people. So there were 3 people killed in the shooting at a newly opened, it just recently opened, In-N-Out. This is the burger chain in the picturesque southern Idaho city of Twin Falls. What does this word mean? Picturesque. Right. So when you think about a picturesque place in Taiwan, what do you think of? Sun Moon Lake? Yeah. What else? Alishan, yeah. I always tell people, go to Taroko Gorge, go to Hualien, go to Taitung, you know, because many foreigners, they come to Taiwan and they never see the east coast of Taiwan. So I always say Taiwan, the east coast is the most picturesque part of Taiwan. Means it's beautiful. The scenery is, it's yeah, attractive. It's beautiful. Gorgeous, yeah. Uh-huh. GoFundMe, yeah. Yeah, you could. But the question is, will people pay you, right? Yeah. So I don't think you're obligated to give anything back. Yeah. So yeah, and of course people need to trust you, right? If they think you're just using the money for yourself or you don't really need the money, then maybe they'll say, oh, swine. But if they think, oh, I know, it seems like a really serious thing, I want to help them, right? You could do it. Does Taiwan have websites like this? Crowdfunding? Maybe, I don't know. This is not a charity. This is not a 慈善. This is just crowdfunding. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting question. I don't know that. That's actually an excellent question. I have no idea if the IRS, the 美国国税局, that's the Internal Revenue Service. That's we say IRS. That's the like Taiwan's 国税局. I don't know if they check this or not. They must. They must look at it. I mean, they must follow this, because if someone gets millions of dollars, right, that's kind of an income. But I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. Well, but this is the question. Let's say I want to buy a house in Chi-Chi, right? Then that's not a charity, right? I'm just, you know. But if my let's say my mother is very sick and I need money to care for her, and I get people donate money to me, then I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe, yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? Okay, so yeah. So why don't we say this word together? Picturesque. Picturesque. Okay, that's a good word. So if you say, well, that's a really picturesque area or city or place, okay, picturesque. Now, keep in mind, we cannot describe people as being picturesque, okay? We only describe places as being. Now, if we want to say somebody is like a person, there's another word that we use. Does anyone know? Yeah. So, photogenic. So if someone is a very photogenic person, it means that they're very attractive in photos. They look good in photos. It's like saying they're picturesque. But we don't use the word picturesque for people. We say they are photogenic. You know, some people, every time you see a picture of them, they always look good, right? That's not me. That's other people. Sometimes, you know, you see a picture of yourself and I say, oh, I look terrible, right? Don't use that picture. I don't like it. But some people, it seems like every time they get a picture of them taken, they always look good, right? So why don't we say together, photogenic. 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 Right, okay. So, yeah. So let's read this together. Sabrina Garibay shared on a GoFundMe page that her daughter, 23-year-old Ashley Garibay, was among the 3 people killed in the August 1 shooting at a newly opened In-N-Out in the picturesque southern Idaho city of Twin Falls. Right. Yeah, I will say, if you ever get the chance, go to, if Idaho is that's, the whole area is really beautiful. This is kind of a side note, but one of the things I love to do, like when I'm flying from Chicago to San Francisco, that's like a 4-hour flight, right? And if the weather is clear, like it was most of the way, on the airplanes now, if you have they have a TV screen on the seat, you can check the map, right? And you can see where the plane is flying. And that's why I spend a lot of my time just looking at the map and looking out the window and trying to see what town or what place I'm flying over. Because one thing that amazes me, some of you I'm sure have flown over America, but one thing that amazes me even now when I fly over America is how huge it is, right? And especially Western United States, when you're flying over, like after Illinois from Chicago, it seems to go on and on and on. It's very flat. And it's just farms and farms and farms. And the roads are very straight. The roads just go super straight. You can just see them. But after you cross like Iowa, Illinois, and then Iowa and Nebraska, you get into the Rocky Mountains. And then you get in, or sometimes we're flying over parts of Colorado and Utah and Idaho. And it's amazing. I'm looking down and I can see mountains and I can see sometimes desert, but I don't see any people. Sometimes you see one road or one little town, but you just don't see anybody. It just goes on and on and on. And I'm just thinking, is there anybody down there, right? There's so much huge area where there's just very, very, very few people. But it's beautiful. It's very picturesque. And I just think, wow, if I could be down there right now, I do remember one time I drove a motorcycle from Los Angeles. I drove out through Nevada, which is a very empty area, and out to Utah, and then down to Arizona. And it's beautiful, it's desert, but sometimes I remember driving on my motorcycle, and I would not see another car for maybe 1 hour or more. You're just driving, and there's nobody around, there's no cars, and I thought, if I break down now, I'm in trouble. So, maybe eventually I'm sure a car or somebody would come, but there's nothing out there. But it's beautiful. It's really cool. I loved it. Yeah. Most American states now, they don't seem to require a helmet, which I think is crazy. I think you should. You see people on the Gaosu Gonglu on their motorcycle with no helmet. And I'm just thinking, if they have an accident, they're done. They're finished. Yeah. Wanla. You kick the bucket. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Hopefully not. Yeah. It was a Kawasaki, 800cc, yeah, 800. It was my friend's. Yeah. He had 2 motorcycles, so he let me use one. It was very cool. But in America, 800cc is not very big. It's not considered very small. Yeah. People use 1000cc, 1800cc, whatever. Yeah, even 2000cc. Yeah. So yeah, but it was good. It was a beautiful way to see America. It was a summertime too. So it was very, very hot, like 40几度. So you have to ride, and it gets very hot, and you drink a lot of water, and it's very. One thing about America too in the summertime, it's hot. It's hotter than Taiwan, but it's not as humid as Taiwan. Taiwan is so humid. When I got back to Taoyuan Jichang, I walked out of the airport, and I was just like, there's just like this humidity. It's like, I told my sister, I was like, it's so humid here. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You did that? No, I didn't. Oh. Yeah. I would say if you ever go to America and you want to see America, do a road trip. Rent a car, maybe a motorcycle, but a car, and just drive across the United States. It's a great way to see America. And driving in America is it's just fun. It's interesting. That's why, my Taiwanese friends, when they hear people drive like 8 hours or 10 hours, they think, that's crazy, I can't do that. But you can do that, So it's actually possible to do that, yeah. Okay, it's more relaxing, I think, yeah. Okay, let's go on here. So it says here, myself and the world, we are in a state of shock. Sabrina Garibay wrote on the fundraising. Oh, so they also call it fundraising. I say crowdfunding because many people can, but it's also a fundraising page on August 3. My beautiful angel Ashley gained her wings while working at In-N-Out in Twin Falls as she was doing what she loved. Her life was taken. Yeah, I would say when or as her life was taken, but a call no mother ever wants to get. Okay, so this was a terrible tragedy for... Let's read this together then. Myself and the world, we are in a state of shock. Sabrina Garibay wrote on the fundraising page on August 3. Let's say this again, fundraising. Okay, I just want to say that this is a very common expression. So for example, I told you in December I organized a 慈善募款晚会, right? We can say that as a fundraising event or a fundraiser, S-E-R, fundraiser event for charity, for 慈善, okay? My beautiful angel Ashley gained her wings while working at In-N-Out in Twin Falls as she was doing what she loved. Her life was taken. A call no mother ever wants to get. Okay, I was thinking here, as she was doing what she wants, what she loved, we could put a comma here too. Her life was taken, but it doesn't. Yeah. Anyhow, I think it's better if she said, as she was doing what she loved. As she was doing what she loved when her life was taken. I think it's better if they said when her life was taken. Okay. So it says here, she said her daughter was a beloved daughter, sister, aunt, and best friend to everyone, adding that she had an amazing soul, the most beautiful heart, and left a lasting impression on so many people. Okay, so what is this? I think you know this, but what does this word mean? It means loved by people. Now, this word actually can be pronounced in two different ways. You heard me say it. You can say beloved, or you can simply say beloved. Okay? So sometimes people will say a beloved father or beloved mother, or we can also just simply say beloved father or beloved mother. So anyhow, we can say, why don't we say together, beloved. Beloved. And then the other way, beloved. Beloved. Okay, so she was a beloved daughter, sister, aunt. Okay, you know aunt, right, is ai, right, or something, yeah. And best friend to everyone, adding that she had an amazing soul, the most beautiful heart, and left a lasting impression on so many people. So we've talked about this before. If you leave a lasting impression on somebody, what does that mean? Right, people will remember you. You leave an impression on them. It means they usually when you say someone leaves a lasting impression, it's usually positive, but it could be negative actually. You could say that person left a lasting impression on me because they were very nasty, or unkind, right? But here, of course, it doesn't mean that. It means that she left a positive, lasting impression. So that word lasting impression, these two words get used together. So we could also say someone makes a good impression on me. or I hope I make a good impression on them. So we can say good impression or bad impression, right? It means how do you feel about them? What's your feeling about them? Does everybody understand that? Okay, so why don't we say together, lasting impression. Lasting impression. Now remember, impression doesn't have to be a person. It could be a place, right? You can say, every time I go to America, it leaves a very lasting impression on me, okay? Or you could say it leaves a good impression on me, okay? It makes me feel a certain way, okay? Okay, so let's read this. She said her daughter was a beloved daughter, sister, aunt, and a best friend to everyone. Adding that she had an amazing soul. Let's say it again. Amazing soul. The most beautiful heart. And left a lasting impression. On so many people. Right. Okay. I was just thinking about something too. When we talk about soul, we said it could be means a life or a spirit, but we could also say if someone puts a lot of we say your heart and soul into something, it means that I'm putting all my energy and my focus, my effort into something. So if you say I'm giving it all my heart and soul, it means I'm giving everything I have to do something. So you can say, I see that she put a lot of heart and soul into making this meal, or cleaning her house, or preparing this project. It means I put everything I have into something. So it can also mean my energy, my spirit, my best. I do my best. So the word soul is a good word to know. It's a word that we use quite a bit. Okay. So it says here, Ashley Garibay lived in Stockton, California, and worked at an In-N-Out location there, but would travel to other new outposts of the burger spot to train workers, the young woman's family said in a statement to KCRA-TV. Okay, so she didn't actually live in Idaho. She was just there to train people. Okay, so Stockton, California is another smaller city in the state of California. Okay, now an outpost, okay, is kind of a way of saying a branch, like maybe we could say, but it could be a branch of many things. You could have an outpost for a company, for a government. Like, for example, 大使馆 is a diplomatic outpost. Okay, we know diplomat means 外官, right? 外交官. So we could say a diplomatic outpost. A kind of diplomatic outpost is an embassy, right? 大使馆. Right, or a consulate. So we can use this word outpost in many different ways. Why don't we say together outposts? Outposts. And then we say burger spot. Of course, spot just means a place, right? In Taichung, there's a burger chain called Burger Joint. Joint, 七分熟, right? Burger Joint. They have many branches. But joint is another word that we use for a spot or a place. A place where you go and just get something to eat, and usually it's 比较简单的, it's a little bit smaller. We say burger joint or a pizza joint, okay? So that word joint can be used for almost like a 小吃 joint. Now joint is, this is a joint, right? My elbow is a joint, or my knee is a joint, but this is a different meaning. It means a small place, okay? So burger joint or burger spot, okay? Yes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, eatery. I use that word a lot. Eatery just means a restaurant, a place to eat. Eatery. Eatery is more of a casual word for a restaurant or a place to eat. When I think of the word eatery, I usually think of a smaller restaurant. I mean, it could be a big restaurant. It could be a bigger restaurant, but eatery, when I use the word eatery, I usually think of a 小吃 or like something like that. I probably would not use eatery for Ruth's Chris, 如是葵, because to me, rusukue seems more expensive, it's more formal, it's more fancy. But eatery would be more of a casual place. I think you could say like TGI Fridays, 星期五餐厅. You could still say eatery, but or McDonald's, right? Pizzeria is obviously for pizza specifically, right? So pizzeria is a specific word for a pizza restaurant. Pizzeria, like, yeah. But I think pizzeria specifically is for a restaurant. So, if it's one of those Wai Dai or Wai Song places, I wouldn't call that a pizzeria, because a pizzeria is where you can sit down and eat pizza, right? So why don't we say together, eatery. Eatery. Pizzeria. Pizzeria. Right, okay. So let's read this together. Ashley Garibay lived in Stockton, California, and worked at an In-N-Out location. In-N-Out location. But, location there. But would travel to other new outposts. Let's say it again. Other new outposts. Of the burger spot. To train workers. The young woman's family said. In a statement to KCR-TV. Okay. Why do you think this burger restaurant is called In-N-Out? Right. You go in, you come out really fast, right? So In-N-Out means you go in and it's fast, right? And you eat your burger, or maybe Wai Dai, you take it to go, but you go in and you come out really fast. It's convenient, 很方便, You could say 7-Eleven. That would be a good name for 7-Eleven, is In-N-Out, right? Yeah. You know why 7-Eleven is called 7-Eleven, right? It used to be from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., okay? When I see 7-Eleven in America, I don't see it too often, but when I see 7-Eleven, I'm always like, hey, 7-Eleven, because it's even though it started in America, to me, I always kind of sit and notice, I really notice 7-Elevens in America, because they're not like Taiwan. They're not everywhere. So, okay, so it says here, she was adventurous, outgoing, smart, and driven, never letting obstacles get in her way, her family said. She lit up a room with her bright smile and a laugh that was contagious. She was a friend to all, and no matter what difficulty she was facing, she always found a way to help others find the light in the darkness. Okay, so these are all very nice things to say about people. First of all, adventurous, what does that mean? You like to try new things, right? If you sit at home all day and you don't ever go anywhere, well, then you're not probably adventurous. But someone who's adventurous means they like to get out. They like to do things. They like to try things, okay? They like adventure, okay? So why don't we say together, adventurous. 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 Okay, I think you all know the word outgoing, right? Yeah, so we've talked about this before, but an outgoing person is an extrovert. And what is the opposite? Introvert, okay. So if we say someone is an introvert, or we say someone is introverted, okay, or extroverted, means they're more shy, right? They're quieter. They don't go out as much. So why don't we say together, extrovert, extrovert, introvert, introvert, outgoing, outgoing. Okay, so now it says she was adventurous, outgoing, smart, and driven. What does that mean? If someone's driven, you might think, well, what does that mean? Yeah, she was ambitious. That's probably the best way of saying it. So, ambitious. Now, I guess I heard someone say this word. I guess you could also say this is similar. I think ambitious is the best word, but motivated, right? But ambitious means I have a lot of ambitions, right? Means I want to do things with my life. I want to achieve things. I want to accomplish things, okay? So why don't we say together, driven. Driven. ambitious, ambitious, motivated, motivated. Okay, so now I have to say, some people are driven in a very positive way, but sometimes people are driven in a negative way, right? They're driven by, their motivation is not good, right? Or it's too much, they're too driven, right? Sometimes you say, wow, he is too driven, right? Maybe he's too ambitious, like he just pushes and goes and goes and goes and never stops, and it gets too much, right? Maybe they burn out. But here it says she was never letting obstacles get in her way. And we've talked about this word. What is an obstacle? It's a difficulty or a barrier, right? Now, of course, everyone faces obstacles in life, right? Sometimes you want to do something, but there is an obstacle. Something gets in your way. So she never let obstacles get in her way. She got over those obstacles. So why don't we say together, obstacles. Obstacles. Okay. And then it says here, she lit up a room with her bright smile. So, this is, again, if you say somebody lights up a room with their smile, it means when they smile, it makes everyone feel good, right? You walk into a room and they have a big smile and everyone feels happy. So we say they lit up the room. It's like a light, right? So they lit up the room with her bright smile and laugh that was contagious. Now, this is a very good way of saying this. What does contagious mean? Yeah, try and run. Like, normally we say a virus or a sickness is contagious, but, a laugh can be contagious, right? If one person laughs, then everyone wants to laugh, right? What? Go, yeah, contagious, yeah. So go viral, yeah. But we wouldn't say that their laugh went viral. We would say their laugh is contagious. Yeah, we could say that. Actually, yeah, we could say it's infectious. We could say infectious laugh. Yeah, that's another good way of saying it. Because what is an infection? When you get sick, right? But infectious means that it's the same as contagious. So if someone has an infectious smile or infectious laugh or infectious enthusiasm for something, because when they feel that way, everyone else starts to feel that way too, right? So usually these are positive ways of saying things, right? Oh yeah, that's true. If you yawn, we say yawning is infectious. One person yawns and suddenly everybody's yawning, right? So yeah, that's true also. Yeah. So these are good ways. These are good words to use for that. Then why don't we say together? Contagious. Contagious. Infectious. Infectious. Okay. So it says here, she was a friend to all, and no matter what difficulty she was facing, she always found a way to help others find the light in the darkness. So these are very nice, very positive things. Finding the light in the darkness, of course, is helping other people to be positive, right? To see, to overcome obstacles, optimistic. Yeah, these are all ways of saying that. Okay? So let's read this together. She was adventurous. Outgoing, smart, and driven. Never letting obstacles get in her way. Her family said. She lit up a room with her bright smile and a laugh that was contagious. Contagious. She was a friend to all. And no matter what difficulties she was facing, she always found a way to help others find the light in the darkness. Right. Okay. So yeah, this was a very terrible tragedy. Of course, unfortunately, America sometimes, not all the time, but they do have these mass shootings. I was reading about this one. They still don't know why this guy did this. He walked in and shot up this In-N-Out burger, and they still don't quite know. You know, sometimes when people do things like that, they leave a message, right? They say, here's why I'm doing this on social media or something. But I don't think this person did that, and so nobody really knows why. But it is very interesting, too, though, because there was a hero in this story, too, in that somebody, you know, only in America, this kind of thing, but somebody was just walking by the restaurant, and they saw this guy with a rifle, you know, shooting. But this person also had a gun. So they pulled out their gun and started shooting at the person with the gun, and they distracted the shooter from killing more people because they were shooting. So, you know, in America, this is why many Americans say that guns have value, because you can protect yourself. If somebody else starts shooting, you have the ability to shoot them. So anyhow, you know, I know in many countries they think that's kind of crazy, but in Americans they think, yeah, that makes sense, because if only the bad guy has a gun, then everyone else has no power, right? But in this case, somebody was just walking by Zolu, and they had a gun, and they started shooting at the guy who had the gun, and some people say they saved other people, more people, from getting killed. So anyhow, we hope that this kind of thing doesn't. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. In fact, I heard there was another guy. There were two people. He was an off-duty police officer, and he also had a gun. And so there were two people shooting at this bad guy, you know, with his gun. So they think that they helped stop him from killing more people because they pulled out their guns. So off-duty, they can't carry their gun. Yeah. No, many off-duty police officers will carry a gun. No, in America. Yeah. So off-duty means you're not working, right? So you after晚上 you go 回家. Many police officers will take their gun with them. They can still carry their gun. So, yeah. Anyhow, very different from Taiwan. Yeah. So, okay. So it's good to see you. Any final questions before we wrap up today? Okay. Good. Well, enjoy your August, and we will see you soon, or see you next month, rather. See you.
Just regular survey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 好，哦，没关系，写完再给我看一下。写完了，不然就是有少就有了。我看有蓝色、绿色，对，绿色的，它这个比较少一点。好，为什么绿色比较多？颜色可以任选，颜色可以任选。